With an update on a possible CM Punk return to WWE and more, this is Wrestling Rambles. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report. Before we move on, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Rambles with notifications on, and don't forget to like the video. As NXT will be moving from the USA Network to the CW in October next year, Lash Legend said this about it on the Black Wrestling podcast. My first words were like, oh snap, okay, that's what's up, that's awesome. I don't want to speak for everybody, but I know a lot of my co-workers are all really excited about it. I haven't heard anything negative about it. We're all looking forward to it. I want it. We would love to have that bigger stage. We're all trying to make it to the main roster anyway. I hope that's the goal. That's the bigger stage. So why not want to go to CW? According to PW Insider, a docu-series on ECW seems to be in the works, which will be based on Todd Gordon's autobiography called Todd is God and was released in July. The Amazon listing for said autobiography reads, Extreme Championship Wrestling was the revolutionary industry redefining wrestling federation of the 90s, and founder and owner Todd Gordon is telling his story for the first time. Gordon went from local Philadelphia businessman to the third most influential man in wrestling as ECW became the fiery challenger to WWE and WCW. ECW's young roster featured inventive, risk-taking talent that both major federations sought to emulate but could never duplicate. Chants of ECW rang out in wrestling arenas across all federations for decades. In Todd is God, so named for a chant the ECW fans created to honor the founder, Gordon chronicles each step of the company's meteoric rise to prominence, as well as the elements that led to his removing himself from the company before its demise. Gordon's former partnership with ECW booker Paul Heyman made for magical TV and in-ring moments. The friendship between Gordon and Heyman, both a blessing and curse, was the once-in-a-lifetime bond responsible for so many of history's greatest teams, bands, and partners. Gordon has stayed silent on the causes for the split and by doing so, assumed blame for it. Until now, Todd is God is the closest you'll ever get to living ECW's right at the top. Come sit beside Sandman, Sabu, Terry Funk, Cactus Jack, and other ECW stars as Gordon brings you inside the locker rooms, hotel rooms, and car rides. From the triumphs and breakthroughs to the frustrations and tragedies, you'll live it all alongside the man who started it all. Speaking of a pro wrestling docu-series, The Rock in his studio with Danny Garcia, $7 Productions, will be working on one for the decline of WCW, as Dave Meltzer said this regarding potential bias for the show on Wrestling Observer Radio. The Rock wasn't watching it, no, but he was aware of it. It was such crap those last couple of years. It was giving people what they didn't want, and it was like a classic example of doing that. I don't know how you can do a series. The thing is that I presume they'll have Eric Bischoff all over it. And once you have Bischoff all over it, you're just going to have the total full of story. It was all those people out to get us as opposed to you effed up and drove your fan base away. It's not just him. I don't want to say it was just him. He was part of that deal. You know, they lost $63 million at the time when, Turner Broadcasting wasn't into losing money. When it comes to plans for the first Smackdown of next month, Ringside News wrote, PW Insider reports that the upcoming Smackdown taping scheduled on December 1st at the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York, already has 2 matches set to grace the WWE Universe. The talent in those matches is also a bit interesting. The Smackdown taping on December 1st in Brooklyn, New York at the Barclays Center has some exciting matches lined up. Fans can catch Cody Rhodes taking on Dominic Mysterio and WWE World Heavyweight Champion Seth Rollins defending his title against Shinsuke Nakamura. As these two matchups take center stage at the Barclays Center, fans can expect a night filled with a lot more for Brooklyn fans. Only time will tell what else they book for the night. It is unknown whether those matches are going to be on television or if they are just dark matches for the live crowd. Asked about WWE being a place he'd like to work for down the line, former TNA star Kenny King told Developmentally Speaking, I think in-ring, I think that I might be too old. Not might be. There's been meetings about me and I'm too old, so that's fine. I feel like that's kind of insane because everybody knows that pro wrestlers only hit their prime and get better at a certain age. But I feel like WWE is, if you haven't been here by a certain time, I mean, look what they tried to do to LA Knight. LA Knight and I were supposed to go in at the same time. I was at that time making way too much money at Ring of Honor to want to go and sign a developmental contract, but it worked out for him. But even then, he's had to become undeniable. They tried to make him a manager, they changed his name, they took away everything that made him him until he left them absolutely no choice. So it's kind of a silly mentality that they have there, but you never know, things can change. When my in-ring career is done, there's always a whole host of possibilities and things that can happen. But as far as that's concerned, I guess I'm too old to wrestle for WWE, which is fine. Taking to X, Paul Heyman heaped praise on Solo Sikoa for his victory over John Cena, writing, Solo, first man to ever make John Cena break a promise. Cena promised himself a victory, then that promise got spiked. Giving advice to Rhea Ripley, former WWE writer Vince Russo said on his Legion of Raw podcast, Rhea Ripley needs a promo coach, bro. She just needs a promo coach, and listen, that's not a bad thing. She didn't train to be an actress, she trained to be a professional wrestler. But if they're going to give her this kind of mic time, they've got to make her better on the mic. They've got to help her. Going over who Shinsuke Nakamura could be calling out for his promo on Raw, Dave Meltzer said on Wrestling Observer Radio, maybe Okada, right? His NJPW deal is up in February, yeah, and I don't think he's going to WWE. For information regarding Shinsuke Nakamura's promos on Raw, Sean Ross Sapp Fightful said that talent that we've spoken to have not been informed as to the context of Shinsuke Nakamura's callouts. Reviewing the match between Swerve Strickland and Hangman Page from AEW Full Gear, Jim Cornette said on his podcast, okay, so then Hangnail gets a staple gun and staples Swerve's chest. He's stapling him in the titties, not the nipples. That's against the Geneva Convention. And then he gets a format or a piece of paper or whatever, and he staples it to Swerve's arm. Now, meanwhile, Brian, you know what a staple gun looks like. You worked in an office. Do you think most of the people know what a staple gun looks like? It's a big metal thing and you squeeze it, and it's got the thing that goes across your fingers and you squeeze it and it staples, right? If you're in a fight with an MFer, especially if you look like Adam Page and the other MFer looks like Swerve Strickland and you've got a staple gun in your hand, are you going to staple him in the titty or are you going to draw back and punch him in the bridge of the nose with it? That's the idea. He's got brass knuckles on his hand and he's stapling this MFer's arm, and then he stapled his face and Swerve is letting him do it because we know that this is all fake because of the general overall presentation of AEW. People are sitting there going, well, this stupid MFer is letting this other stupid MFer staple his cheek and his titties. And at that point, somehow he's busted Swerve open also, and Swerve hit a gusher and starts pouring blood. And this is where Page lays down on his back as Swerve is bending over bleeding from his head. Lays down on his back and opens his mouth so that he can drink Swerve's blood to show how badass he is. And I believe at that point, you know, again, I go back to when Lyndon Johnson said after Cronkite came back from Vietnam, if we've lost Cronkite, we've lost America. I think they've lost the female audience that they might not have had to begin with on that one. And again, they might have lost the network that they potentially might or might not have had off of that one. You idiot. Hangman Page is no better than the plumber, Jon Moxley, or the bank-addicted drug robber, Nick Gage. He's got more hair, that's it. Page, otherwise, he is as stupid and demented and distasteful. With MJF said to have dislocated his hip and hurt his shoulder at the Full Gear event. This was said on his recovery by Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio. He's dealing with a lot of pain, but he'll be ready for the pay-per-view, the December show in Nassau Coliseum. Explaining why Randy Orton was revealed to be returning to WWE at Survivor Series for the War Games match, Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful noted that Randy Orton's reveal was done intentionally as to not make fans believe CM Punk would be the partner. Staying on this topic, this was said regarding talks between CM Punk and WWE, as Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful said, as of last night, we're told WWE's stance hadn't changed on CM Punk at Survivor Series. Asked about WWE's role in the Iron Claw movie, which surrounds the life of the Von Erich family, Triple H said this on Greg and the Morning Buzz. We did not. They came to us recently looking to do some promotion with us, and they were trying to screen it for us a few weeks ago, and we had an international tour going on and a premium live event in Saudi. We couldn't make it work. I'm excited to see it. I've heard it's very good. I listen to Michael Hayes complain to me all the time about how they made a movie with him in it and he never signed off on it or agreed to be in the movie. That's his point of view. It's an amazing moment in the industry. That whole thing and the fascination of it, for me, I hope they don't dwell. There is so much positive in our business in so many ways, and yet a lot of times, no different than anything else in life, people want to focus on negative moments. It's a tragedy, the family. I just hope that it's done well. I heard it is. I heard it's done in a way that is not negative, not a downer, but just tells you about the perils of that stuff. If it's done in that manner, I think it's great. If it's just a sensationalized hatchet job on a tragedy in a family that could have been surrounding a lot of different businesses, I hope it's not that. Recalling her main roster debut on Raw, where she bit and drew blood from Becky Lynch, Shayna Baszler explained how this came together, telling Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful that they wanted something that would make me trend on Twitter. It worked. I was like, I have this gnarly arm stomp. They were like, no. We want you to be like the Mike Tyson of the division. I was like, you think they're going to think Mike Tyson after this? Okay, you got it. But I trended on Twitter, so who am I to say? I just came up to the main roster. I was doing my job, getting myself to trend on Twitter. That's it. When it came to Dragon Lee facing and defeating Axiom on Smackdown last week, it was noted that Axiom's appearance on Smackdown last week was a literal last-minute decision, PWInsider.com has learned. We are told that the WWE NXT star was booked for the taping the morning of Smackdown last week. As of today, he is still listed with WWE NXT internally. Ringside News added that it was not noted who was originally slated to face Dragon Lee, but Axiom certainly put on an amazing performance. He also surprised a lot of fans who may not have seen him wrestle before. Going over a new signing to WWE, Ringside News noted that according to PW Insider, Maddie Rinkowski was recently seen at the WWE Performance Center, leading to speculation that she has inked a deal with WWE NXT. Rinkowski entered the wrestling scene in 2019 and has since competed for various promotions, including Mission Pro Wrestling, Hurricane Pro Wrestling, SWE, among others. Maddie Rinkowski made her All Elite Wrestling debut on the December 22nd episode of AEW Dark, where she faced Layla Hirsch. She has also made appearances for AEW on other occasions. Notably, Maddie Rinkowski previously held the NWA Women's Tag Team Championships as a part of M95 alongside Missa Kate, with her last NWA match taking place in August. We will have to see what is in store for her in WWE. As Braun Strowman has been out of action from WWE due to a neck injury since May, Ringside News provided an update on the star, writing, Braun Strowman hasn't wrestled in quite some time, but he is still staying busy after his neck fusion surgery. The company may not have the monster of all monsters in the ring right now, but they're making good use of his services anyway. A possible new role may be emerging for Braun Strowman, the former WWE Universal Champion who had been sidelined due to injury. After making a comeback to WWE in September 2022, following his release in 2021, Strowman teamed up with Ricochet for tag team matches and was subsequently drafted to Raw in the spring of 2023. Unfortunately, he suffered a significant neck injury in May, leading to his absence from WWE programming since a brief appearance on the Bray Wyatt tribute edition of the WWE SmackDown in August. According to PW Insider, there are plans for Braun Strowman to travel to India in December for WWE promotional activities. This suggests that he may be taking on an ambassadorial role while recuperating from his surgery, a path taken by other wrestlers recovering from injuries in the past. As of this writing, there is no update regarding his return to in-ring competition. Ringside News will provide further updates on Braun Strowman's WWE comeback as they become available. During Raw on November 13th, Michael Cole promoted the show Barmageddon, which Nikki Garcia, formerly known as Nikki Bella, is a host. She reacted to not being mentioned by name with NBC Chicago, saying, "It's sad. There's obviously a lot of things I could say about that. I think more than anything, it's disappointing. I worked there for 16 years and I helped pave the way for them. Not only that, they've always been family to me. Walking away, for me, it wasn't malicious. I'm at a point in my life and I wanted to do things without hearing the word no, and it was just strictly business. Maybe there were some personal things that happened over the years that also pushed me toward that, but I think more than anything, it's disappointing because I don't see it happening with the men. For some reason, with the women who are outspoken, and we've seen this with the women in the past, they just want to ban us. I think it's sad because we look at it as family, and so, okay, they don't want to say my name, that's fine, but hey, Barmageddon got a shout out. With him recently returning to WWE, John Cena had previously needed one surgery on his arm as he recently underwent a procedure on the other, writing on X, "Thank you for the autograph. Jeff Dugas, so very grateful to him and his whole team for 2 successful surgeries, a world-class facility that has me ready to seize the day with 2 repaired arms." For details on the recent arrest of Hulk Hogan's son, Ringside News wrote that Nick Hogan was arrested on DUI in Florida and he spent some time behind bars. Now we are getting more information about the arrest and it was quite a situation. Radar Online reports that Hulk Hogan's son, Nick Hogan, was involved in a bikini contest event at his father's restaurant, Hogan's Hangout, shortly before his DUI arrest in Clearwater, Florida. Footage obtained by TMZ from the event, which occurred on Friday night, has emerged online, showing Nick Hogan, who is 33, working behind a DJ booth playing music and introducing the winners of the bikini contest. During the event, Nick Hogan served as the MC and DJ, while his father, the WWE legend Hulk Hogan, participated as a contest judge. He had a good time, but then he decided to drive afterward. Hulk Hogan also announced that the restaurant was offering complimentary shots, although it remains unclear whether Nick consumed any of the free alcohol provided by Hogan's Hangout. This was not a good combination for Nick Hogan, as he led to a bad decision to drive after drinking. Nick Hogan was subsequently pulled over and arrested for DUI after failing a field sobriety test. The Clearwater police arrested him shortly after 1 a.m. on Saturday morning. Nick Hogan, whose real name is Nicholas Balea, was handcuffed after a police officer allegedly detected alcohol in his breath, as indicated in the police report. The report also mentioned that the 33-year-old performed poorly on the field sobriety test. Nick Hogan was recorded driving his 2021 Dodge Ram pickup truck clock at 51 miles per hour in a 40-mile-per-hour zone, passing 3 stationary patrol cars engaged in a separate traffic incident. An officer attempted to signal Nick to change lanes using a department-issued flashlight, but the vehicle did not comply, failing to reduce its speed by 20 miles per hour below the posted limit. Talking about facing his brother Jimmy at WrestleMania 40, Jey Uso told Billboard, "Right now, I feel like Jimmy's at the top of the list. He's got to get this work. He's still ducking me right now. He knows what it is. If I could talk from Josh and me, it's my dream match. If this does happen, I'd be so grateful and happy. I would just look at him like, look what we doing. Look at this." Those are special moments in the ring that nobody in the world knows. When we did the Money in the Bank with Roman Reigns and Solo, I was just looking at them getting a little teary-eyed like, look at us. That would go down as the #1 moment in my career if I get to wrestle with Jimmy in the sold-out Philadelphia in front of friends and family. I'd beat his ass. If I could pick someone else, I'd probably want to run it one time with Seth Rollins for that championship. He's a GOAT. He's a beast and got my respect. He's been holding down Monday Night Raw forever. I'm with it. And this was your pro wrestling news update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all later.